For such a person, would you advise that he or she seek expert medical consultation to treat this matter, like calming meditation or even tranquil hypnosis?
So how do you manage people like this? I believe that first of all, identifying whether do they have a personality problem, do they have personal issues problem, or they are medically affected. So once you understand which category they are, I think medication is a quick way to suppress that traumatic or depression mode or that problem that they have. It only suppresses, it doesn't resolve, right? So while they are much more calmer, they have time to reflect upon themselves. But if medication is going to be the only resolution, it will do them more harm than good, right? So it is something that they need to change themselves. They cannot accept themselves to be a sickly person, because that will create more anger in themselves, because the world is seeing them as a sick person. So it's very, very difficult for you to get a person who's mentally disturbed or traumatized, and anger is the outcome of it, for them to go and seek medical help. They will not know, because first of all, they're fighting the world in order to accept themselves, who they are. They're not going to allow the world to see them in bad light at all. So they will always reject to the fact that they are sick. They will not agree. They will not take medication at all. So the best thing for you to do is start off with love. Accept them for who they are, because that's what the underlying problem is. The world is not accepting them. So if you want to start with somebody who's angry or always angry, accept them for who they are. Tell them they're all right. They're good as who they are. Whenever they're angry, tell them, don't be angry. Give them a hug and accept them. Accept their anger, accept them with the anger. Don't fight their anger. Because when you fight their anger, they don't see you fighting the anger, they see you fighting them, right? So you need to allow them to feel wanted, to feel accepted. Once you have done that, there is lesser reason for them to be angry, because they found somebody who accepts them as who they are. They don't need to fight them. They don't need to justify. They don't need to defend themselves with that person. Once they get into the momentum that I am somebody that the world accepts, they will slowly allow the world, they will see the world in different light, and they will allow themselves to be accepted. They will get lesser angry, lesser agitated, and lesser defensive.
What do you think about the unconventional treatment like hypnosis?
I will treat hypnosis as medication, because medication suppresses your thoughts and who you are and everything, and gives you a false understanding that you have resolved your problem. Actually, no, you have suppressed your problem. Hypnosis is also the same. It is a quick relief to tell your mind that you're not that person anymore. But it's not natural to you. You have allowed a third-party person to fake your mind to believing that you are not that person. But remember, hypnosis is at the conscious mind. At the subconscious level, there are a lot of things that you have built up in your subconscious mind that has started from this foundation of insecurity that you have created from yourself, that non-acceptance of yourself. That anger is only one reflection of it, right? But however, there's so many other thought process that has been done, or that has been given you the foundation of truth based on that foundation of anger or non-acceptance or inferiority complex. Hypnosis only manages one part of it. You have to do continuous hypnosis to change the person. But who are you changing it to be? You're changing that person to be somebody acceptable by the society, but the person is not changing to be themselves. So we need to say that these two, medication and hypnosis, is a matter of a short-term management of the anger, but it's not a long-term solution for the person.
People even say that anger, like many other feelings, can be triggered by the waning and waxing of the moon. Is this an excuse, or is there some scientific explanation behind these mood swings?
Well, anger can be triggered, but when you call anger that is triggered, is saying that you are easily agitated. Now, what makes you easily agitated? It's not about feelings, it's not about angry. You're an easily agitated person. So different people have different hormones, right? When you eat meat, there's a lot of toxins that from the meat that comes into your body. And those toxins create the environment where you are easily agitated. So when the moon is on its heightened, on the full moon or no moon, the gravitational pull of the moon aggravates the toxins in your body. When that aggravation comes, now you are much more susceptible to triggers. You are much more easily agitated. So one of the things to avoid that, if people who find themselves in this position, right, is to try to taper down on food that aggravates you, like meat, spicy food and all those things. So the level of toxins and everything in your body is much more at a manageable level. So the enhanced gravitational pull by the full moon or the no moon days will not be effective or affect you in a very negative way.
Negative feelings called anger that many of us experience in our lives. What triggers anger?
When we talk about anger, there are many reasons why we have anger. I think the most important part is anger is actually an emotional reaction of what the mind has perceived. That's the first thing that we do. So when we talk, before we speak about the emotion of anger, we must speak about the mind itself. What it is perceiving and why is it translating it to an anger, or why is it reflecting what the mind has perceived in an angry mode. Now the reason why is anger is a result of what we have seen, what we are doing and what we are saying. We will do something and we will expect something back in return. Everybody does something to expect something back in return. So the expectation and the result, when it's mismatched, we get angry. We get angry with ourselves for doing it wrong. We get angry with the people who are not responding it well. We are angry with people who don't love us back as well. And we are angry also with the reaction people will give, because our mind is assuming that they are having a different thought. What we don't see is what we have projected. We are only looking at what people are reflecting back to us. But we don't talk about what we have projected, because without projecting, there's no reflection. But we always act on the reflection, right? And that's a reaction. So the mind thinks that I am being challenged, I am feeling unworthy, or they are perceiving me to be unworthy, or they are degrading me, or they are looking at me in bad light. So because we have this inbuilt pride, ego and dignity, we react. We don't like anybody to push us down. We don't like anybody to suppress us. Whether it's suppressing by our nature, or whether it's suppressing our pride, our dignity, or our ego, we will retaliate. That retaliation itself is that emotional outburst called anger. Now when that emotional outburst could be for a very small moment, but the emotion trauma that it creates in us stays for a long time, and we remember that for a long time, and that's disastrous.
How can one intervene if the person's anger goes beyond words and becomes physical?
Well, I think before you allow, let's say if you are facing with an angry person, don't explain yourself. Let them win, right? Because when you let them win, it's not that you're losing, you're avoiding consequences of the anger moving to physical or getting worse. It's very important for you to understand that, because in an angry situation, only one person starts to become angry. The other person is going to react to the anger. Remember, the anger itself is a reaction to the normal conversation or normal circumstances. You don't have to aggravate by returning that anger with anger. Just stop. If you are the sane one, stop and tell them that it's okay, I think you are right, I maybe have understood it wrong, or say, let's discuss it another day. If it's somebody that you love, right, give them a hug. Diffuse that anger. Let them calm down, because nobody can think right when they're angry, because they're thinking out of their emotion. And emotion has no thinking, because thinking is in the mind. The mind is totally detached when you are emotional. So you need to detach the person from that emotion, diffuse that emotion. Only then you can manage the anger. But anger moving to physical is because it is anger being challenged by anger.
Is anger emotionally or mentally related?
Well, as I said, anger is definitely an emotion. However, that emotion is not triggered on its own. Because our life, our creation, the way we are created, the only valuable emotion or the only emotion that is created within us is happiness and joy. Everything else is triggered by the mind. So mental stress creates an anger, because anger is that whatever that you can't speak out, that means you can't speak your mind, is suppressed anger. And what you see one day, that all it comes out is that outburst of that suppressed anger. It's an emotional trauma. Whenever you can't speak out, you are creating emotional trauma, right? So anger has got two kinds of when it creates. Emotional trauma has got two aspects of how it's created. One, suppressed feelings. The other one is reaction to anger or emotional trauma, or which is called anger. So when your anger is suppressed, it causes emotional trauma. When your feelings are suppressed, it will also cause emotional trauma. The outburst of it can be very, very bad, can be disastrous, can be fatal. Not only to the person in front of the angry person, but also to them. They do not know how they are deteriorating themselves over time.
How would you counsel a person who finds himself or herself becoming easily angered even for the slightest things?
When a person who's easily angered, this is a different kind of anger. A person who's easily angered, the reason why they're easily angered is because they have a lot of inferiority complex. They see their life as always trying to prove themselves to somebody or prove themselves with something. So at the smallest trigger of them being seen in the bad light or in a different light, they feel that they need to jump out of their skin and justify. They need to defend themselves. That's their trigger point, is because they're always thinking that the whole world is against them. The whole world looks down upon them. Actually, the whole world doesn't do anything about them. It's their perception of their whole world. So that's what is their inferiority complex. The only way to counsel them or to teach them is to say the world is actually reflecting to what you're projecting. It's not that you are reflecting to what the world is projecting. They need to understand that principle. So if I am projecting my inferiority complex by fighting the world, then I am actually the one who's fighting the world, not the world is fighting with me. I don't have to get angry with the world. I just need to understand, why am I getting angry with the world? Why am I getting angry with the world? Not the world is angry with me, right? So if you, in a similar way, if you look at your pet, which is barking a lot at every stranger, it is behind the gate. It has fear of itself. If it has fear that it's going to be seen, so it needs to project that it is not fearful by barking louder. But the gate itself and the bark itself, it is his protection. However, that doesn't need to be. A dog doesn't need to bark to show it's powerful. The dog needs to be a dog. So human beings need to be themselves in order to say that who you are and how you value yourself. If you can't value yourself to an acceptable level of society, then you should work on yourself. Not force society to accept who you are based on how you want to project yourself, but that's a different person from who you actually are. So please work on identifying yourself, knowing yourself, and then accepting yourself.